What does it look like? What am I really talking about here, right? So what do I believe? So I believe that a man should be the leader in the relationship, that he should, quote, be in charge. I don't like to use that term because it's unnecessary to really say it that way. But ultimately what it means is that a woman should follow the man, that she should accept him as an authority, allow him to be authority in the home. And I use the word allow because there becomes this dominance and submission type of thing. Like a woman should submit to a man, right? His wife or his, in a relationship. But the thing I think that most people miss is that it has to be a willing submission, right? I think a lot of people think, you can dominate someone, but that's not the case. It's just like if I went to a karate class and signed up for karate class, I would willingly submit to the instructor's authority because I want to be there. He's not making me, right? I choose to be there. I choose to be in that situation. I choose to follow. He says, drop and give me 20 push-ups. I'm not going to be like, I don't want to give 20 push-ups. I signed up. I'm at the class. I accept his authority in that situation. So that's what I mean by that is I am saying what a lot of people would call the traditional kind of roles, relationships, which I think we talked about, 2 weeks ago, why have a traditional relationship?
A while ago. Yeah. I think what you just said, though, is so important because what men need to realize is a woman is not going to follow your lead if you are acting in this way that we're going to describe that's wrong, right? Like you have to be somebody that she looks up to and who is doing the right. You wouldn't go to a karate class and the guy is just yelling at you like, do 50 push-ups and then do 100 crunches, and then 30 minutes into the class, you only have like 30 more minutes left. You're barely doing any karate. You're just doing what he tells you to do. You wouldn't respect him as much. You'd be like, okay, maybe I need to try a different karate class. So I think it's really important that, which I know we're going to dive into the difference, but that men realize that there is a difference. There's a difference between this like authoritarian, and very aggressive and often like disrespectful and harsh sort of view that guys can sometimes have when it comes to like leading or authority, and then the right way to do it, which is not saying that you do everything. It's you still have to lead, you still have to make the decisions, but it's not this like extreme version. Yeah,
and I would say, we could go back to, it's probably worth talking about one more time, the captain of the ship analogy, right? Like, I think that's the best way to describe it. And I talked about in a different episode about how a man should have this conversation with a woman when she wants to be in a committed relationship. But basically the idea is that the man should be the captain of the ship, and he should act as the captain in such a way that he's going down with the ship, he's responsible for the ship and everyone on board of that ship, and that they choose to be on the ship or not. And he makes that clear that is, if he's going to be in a relationship, he's going to be the one who is the captain of this ship. And so, what does a good captain do? A good captain, he doesn't just bark orders at people. He doesn't abuse the authority and just use that authority in order to just do what he wants to do. He's looking after, where is the ship going? Like, what is the destination, right? Where are we trying to get to? And he's utilizing his authority in order to help to navigate and to make sure that things go that direction. And then also, how is he treating the people who he's in care of? Well, that's where we say he goes down with the ship, meaning that he puts his life last and puts the crew and the passengers first, which means that if you're leading as a man in a relationship in the proper way, then you're putting your wife, your children, if you have children, you're putting them first. You're putting the woman above you and caring for her needs and the things that she needs in life more so than yourself. And
that'll help you make better decisions for everybody as well too. Because if you're putting yourself first, you're probably going to make decisions just based on what benefits you. Whereas if you're putting other people in your family and your life first, then you're going to make a better overall decision. I'm not saying that you don't take yourself into consideration at all either, but you think more about the decisions that you make if they affect everybody, and you know that they affect everybody, and you're taking that responsibility.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's this balance, right, between for guys in this position to be a good leader, where it is accepting that you are the authority and that you do need to have that captain of the ship conversation, or be really clear that, look, I'm going to make these decisions. It is going to be my call at the end of the day, right? I'm going to be the authority, the head of this house. However, at the same time, you also have to be leading mostly by example, right? So that you are setting the standard, and you're like we just said, like you're caring for the people, you're caring for the woman that you're in a relationship with. She knows that you care about her and her desires and her needs more than your own self. So there's sort of this thing, because you can go too far in one or the other direction, right? Some men, what they'll do is that they will be domineering and controlling, right? Mm-hmm. And so they'll be a tyrant. They will say things. They'll say, you need to listen to what I'm saying. You need to submit to me. And they'll be pressing that as opposed to servant leadership. And they'll be pushing that part hard, right? And maybe they'll be making selfish decisions. Or, you hear this sometimes where guys are like, oh, well, I'm the man, so we're going to have an open relationship, and like, but it's only one way open, or, like you
no,
hear.
I've never heard that. And besides
there's
like
some people that are
the craziness that I've heard on the internet, but personally I've never heard that in real life.
No, but I'm saying that the craziness that this idea that, you're this big, strong, angry man and everybody better listen to you, right? That's not the way to go. But then there's other guys that will go on the other side of this, which is to abdicate all responsibility, to say, oh no, it's an equal partnership and we just make all the decisions together. And
well, some of those guys just want a mom.
Yeah.
So that's, again, they'll give up all the responsibility for someone to just do the things for them. But again, that's like these are the extremes.
Those
right?
are the extremes.
So
exactly.
like the guy that's very like controlling is one extreme, and then the guy who wants like a mom is the other extreme. But I do feel like guys really do struggle with being somebody that a woman would trust to lead them. Yeah. Because that's the reality, is that a woman's not going to let a man lead if she doesn't trust him with her life. Right. Like, she's not, period. So what a guy has to do is be a man worthy of having, a woman's life in your hands.
And what's that? Like, what is it that a woman would trust a man and be willing to let him lead?
I mean, I think you do have to be, I'm not saying like completely aligned on a lot of like life goals and morals and things like that, but I do think it helps, because if you guys see eye to eye on a lot of things, it's a lot easier to put trust in that person, knowing that they probably are going to handle the situations the exact way or very similar to how you would. And, all of us at some point have been on our own. We have certain ways of doing things, so when you feel like someone's going to handle them in a similar way, that helps. Obviously, like being a person with integrity and, respect for other people and little things like that will translate usually to that person having respect for you. A lot of women talk about how if you go on a date with a guy, how he treats like the waiter and things like that is a good way to determine how he could potentially treat you. So, and I do agree with that. So usually, like, if he respects all people in his life that he encounters, he'll have respect for you. He'll treat you kindly and, based on how he acts. So a lot goes into it. Like, even more than that, I mean, like, he has to be trustworthy. And I mean, you and I started off on a beginning that wasn't built a lot on that. So that's not to say that can't grow into something, but I did still trust you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
To this level. Like, I felt like I knew who you were.
Right.
And so I trusted in that because we had we spent so much time together. We talked to each other so much. Like I learned so much about you that I trusted in what I had learned and what I had seen from you.
Yeah.
Because actions speak way louder than words. So that is important too, that guys need to actually act the way that they're saying. They can't just say something and then not follow through on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is part of being, trustworthy and things like that too. So it's a combination.
Right.
Because I never really felt like I trusted any other guy. I mentioned that in a different episode too, but it's true because I just didn't have all these things aligned that I had just talked to you about. So I didn't even know that it could happen.
Yeah.
And I definitely wasn't going to follow the lead of any of the guys that I had met because I felt like I could run the ship better than any of them. So I'm like, I'm not giving the steering wheel over to this guy who doesn't know how to even live his own life.
And I think that's a big element of it, right? I was just about to say, if I go on an airline, right, I let the pilot pilot the airplane. I don't, because I know he can pilot the airplane better than I can.
Right.
And so to some degree, a woman has to know, hey, this man's more competent in some ways than I am. Like I trust him to take care of things better than I could take care of things. So she has to look up to him to a degree. And I know when I say that, some people are like, oh, I can feel but it is true, right? I don't want to mince words on that. It's like a woman does have to look up to a guy. It doesn't mean that he's, quote, better than her. It just means that as far as, one of the things that a man needs to be is competent. He needs to be financially competent. He needs to have wisdom. He needs to have those things where a woman would look up to him and look up to those attributes. Well, she has her own set of attributes, the feminine attributes that are different and also valuable. Those masculine attributes of being able to make decisions, of being able to take charge, and being able to navigate the world and move a couple in the right direction. I think those things, she has to feel like he is more equipped to do that than she is, which again, I think the other part of that is it doesn't totally disregard her input into that too, because a good leader also is a person, if we went back to the ship example, a captain of the ship that's like, don't worry, I got it. Like, don't like, oh, we're going a little off course. Nah, I can navigate and I'll do the sails. Like, I'll handle everything. Like, you don't worry about it. That's not a very good captain, right? He needs to listen to the crew, and the crew's like, okay, well, there's a leak in the, there's no leak. Get out of here, right? Like he has to actually listen to the crew and say, okay, I'm going to take that into consideration to actually take the. Better than